Good morning.
Hi, everybody, if you can hear me.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I know we're a few minutes early. I just thought I'd say hi because we're all kind of here like the Brady Bunch on our, you can see all of our pictures. So I wanted to at least say hi and get ready to get started here in a few minutes. I think we've got a few people left to join maybe. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, good.
Yes.
So any of you that have the muted microphone, go ahead and click the microphone image. So we can hear you. It's kind of a first time, so I think things are a little bit unique perhaps for people that don't use Zoom a lot. I don't really use Zoom a ton either, but I think this will be good to have the video chat conference instead of the phone conference call that sometimes it's harder to decipher things, and it's easier to see and read people's faces a little bit more face to face, I think. So how many do we have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're missing Pitt State still. Wait, I see Jason's here.
I think there are 2 of.
Yes, Jason's here.
And Joel, this is Lyndall. Can you see me from my iPad?
Yes, I can. Good to see your face.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. Hi there.
Hello.
So I think from Fort Hays State, is it Jenna? Yeah, there you go, Jennifer. Is it Jennifer or Jenna?
There's 2 of us. One's Jenna and one's Jennifer.
Okay, cool. So that's what I was trying to piece together there. But you are Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Good deal. So let's see. We've got Hayes. I think I still need K-State, or KU still is not here. I think everybody else is. Let's see. We've got WSU there, K-State, Pitt State, Fort Hays State, ESU. So yeah, I'm basically just waiting on KU. So I'll wait a minute longer for Robert to join, and then we'll get started here. Oh, cool. So it looks like Brad joined in a chat. Do you know anything about that, Lyndall?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay.
No.
Hey, Brad, is your mic, or excuse me, is your video camera muted?
I doubt it.
Nope, there you go. It just has your name. So you might need to unmute or check your camera in the bottom left corner to start video.
Yeah, I won't be able to use the video. My machine doesn't work.
I gotcha. Okay. Thank you. We can hear you though, so that's good. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started, and then Robert will join us, I guess, in progress here in a few minutes. I want to get started here on time because I think that today's meeting will for sure take the full hour, I'm guessing. So welcome to the UPS Council, everybody. It's really great to see you all. Very excited for the year, excited for all of you joining me and the whole council. I know that it's a lot of time. It takes a lot of time that not all of us have. So I appreciate all the efforts you put into it, and just going the extra mile than what's required with your job duties. I know that it does take a lot of time and effort, and so I really do appreciate it, and thank you for all of your help and participation on the council. Hopefully it's a good year. We've got some things to work on via the satisfaction survey that we had last year that we can kind of continue to address as we move forward throughout the year. But this first meeting, really, as I mentioned in my emails, is kind of about trying to get established with everybody. And now we've got faces with names, which is nice, instead of just emails. And kind of get on the same page also with the September KBOR presentation that I'll be giving on behalf of all of you. So I kind of want to know what you have in store for me to report to KBOR, and we'll kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and do some introductions, just so we can introduce ourselves. Basically, I want your name, what school you're from, and then your position on your campus, and go ahead and throw out one fun thing you did this summer. It's got to be fun, not like chores or I had to move or something like that. Think of one fun thing you did this summer, okay? And I'll ask the schools individually to go, so that makes it easier for you guys to know who to go next instead of just kind of jumping in awkwardly. So I'll start. Joel Aby is my name. So if you notice that last name spelled E-W-Y is very weird. It's German, but it's pronounced A-V. So like if you're ever curious and confused, it's like 2 letters, an A and a V. So Joel A.V. is my name. And so I'm a career counselor here at Emporia State University. And let's see, something fun that I did this summer. My family and I went to South Carolina and went to the beach, kind of a random beach location when I think of beaches, but it was really awesome. So that was something fun that I did this summer. So let's go to Fort Hays State next.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Whitmer. I work in the Department of Social Work as an administrative assistant. I've been at Fort Hays for almost 10 years and just elected vice president of our Senate last week, so I have no clue what I'm doing.
Okay, we're all learning as we go here. So,
yes. And
you
as far
catch
as
up pretty
something,
quickly.
something fun, I actually just had a baby, so I just got back from maternity leave at the beginning of the summer.
All right. Well, congratulations. Boy or girl or what?
It's a girl, my 4th.
Your 4th one. Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
You might be a little tired sometimes on these conference calls.
Yes.
Hopefully you're getting some sleep. All right. Go ahead.
I'm Jenna. I work at Fort Hays in psychology. I've been here like a year and a half. I traveled a lot this summer. I went home. Memphis is home. And that's about it.
All right. Okay, so that's Fort Hays State. Thank you so much for the introductions. Let's move on to, KU's not here, so I'm just going down.
I am.
Oh, wait, we are there. Robert. Nice.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I didn't see your name pop up there so go ahead and introduce yourself to the group, please.
Robert Waller, work in the budget office. Abby won't be joining us because Abby's still out for maternity leave. She should be back in a couple of weeks now. So.
Okay. And did you do anything fun this summer?
Vacation and started a PhD program. So I'm not sure how fun that is going to be, but yeah.
Yeah, I did ask for something fun, I don't know if that counts.
No, it does.
What's your PhD in?
Public administration.
Oh, great. Awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
That's an undertaking, but I'm sure it'll be worth it in the end. And
yes, that's the concentration.
I'm trying to stay positive for you.
Yes, trying to stay positive.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. K-State.
I'm Maria Beebe. I am the Associate Director at International Student and Scholar Services at K-State. And I took a short trip to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to visit an old friend, and we went hiking in Ohio, which who knew it was as beautiful as it was. So I was pleasantly surprised with my trip to Ohio.
That sounds cool.
How
much did you hike?
2 days. We did one state park, and then we did a nature preserve.
I am a Steelers fan, and I know that I go to Steelers games like twice a year, and yes, it is.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's a really nice city.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Very cool. Steelers fan in the house. How about that? Okay. So, is anyone else joining from K-State? I think that's it, right?
I don't know if Kelly is on. She was good.
Here.
She's here. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm Kelly Briggs. I'm the other co-chair for our professional staff affairs. I am an academic advisor in the College of Education, and I am almost at 7 years in this position. I did a lot of fun things this summer. I went up to the east coast of Canada. I went out to Seattle, and I met my daughter-in-law for the first time. So, yeah, I had a really exciting summer.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, you were the world traveler then. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, so.
Yeah. I mean, technically you're crossing an international border, so that's worldly, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining. And it's Maria? Is that
Yes.
okay? I want to make sure I get that, right. I figured that was how I pronounced it, but wanted to get it straight. Okay, let's go on to Pitt State. Whoever wants to jump in first.
Go ahead, Lyndall.
All right. I'm the university architect. I've been at PSU for 12 years, 2 years in this position. I'm the past president of our UPS organization. And I guess the fun thing we did this summer, my wife and I took our daughters.
Oh, I think he froze up there for a minute. I don't know if that's on my end. Has my connection been consistent? Has it been okay?
Yeah, it's been fine.
Okay.
Yes.
You said you went where? I didn't hear that part.
My wife and I took our 2 daughters and left them at college. So we are empty nesters.
Wow. How is that? Has that been okay?
It's been great.
Welcome to the club. It's awesome.
I just started kindergarten with my daughter, and so it's kind of the other end of that, which was a little bit of a transition for me too.
It is, but sometimes they're ready to be gone, and it's great when they're able to be gone.
All right. Well, cheers for that then. Okay, and then I think we have Jason, right?
Yes. I'm Jason Kegler. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Life here at Pittsburgh State University. I've been at the institution, this is the start of my sixth academic year, fifth academic year, sorry. And one fun thing, it didn't actually happen this summer, but this spring in April, close enough this summer, I got a chance to watch my son win the Elks finished third in the nation in the Elks hoop shoot contest. So we have a third place winner nationally, and he missed first place by 1 shot. So
wow,
that close to being a national champion and getting his name in the Naismith Hall of Fame. So. And he's 10, so we've got a few more years to work on it, but we're proud of it.
That's awesome. And where was that competition?
The competition was actually held in Chicago. So okay. The Elks flew us out to Chicago. My wife and our other 2 kids, they flew us, all 5 of us total went out to Chicago and got a chance to watch him shoot. So it was
awesome. Good stuff. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so now rounding up the group is WSU. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm Julie Scott from Wichita State. I work in the Office of Financial Aid as a business technology and data analyst. We don't really love the video portion of this, but something fun. And I'm the current president for our staff senate. Not on the call today is Camille Childers, who is our past president and will normally be on our calls. So, but all 3 of us are going to try to get involved this year, since apparently we are the school up next for this fun gig next year. And something fun that we did as a family was this past summer was the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing. So we had a big party with lots of our friends and family over, and he was 8 at the time, but now 9-year-old little science nerd just loved it and thought it was great. So
that's awesome. And sorry for the video. I know, right? It's a change from our conference calls we had, and some people do not want the camera on them. But I do appreciate seeing all the faces too. And Trish, I think, are you then next?
Yeah, I'm Trish Gandu, and I work in the Honors College here at Wichita State, and I've been here for 14 years. And this is my 2nd year on Senate, and I am the VP/President-elect. So, and this summer we did not really vacation. I had a baby this last year as well, and so not a lot of extra time to just get away over the summer, but so we just tried to spend some time as a family and do some fun things around town.
Well, congratulations. And how many children is that?
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah, 4 and under. So we've got some young ones, and so
Wow.
wasn't really on our radar this summer.
4 and under. So you have 3, 4 and under?
Yeah, I have and now she's 4 and a half, 2 and a half, and an 11-month-old.
You are a busy lady. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Great introductions. I know that took a little bit of time, but I really appreciate. I wanted to get a little bit of a background and a feel for you all, and thanks again, Lyndall, for all of your work and help that you did last year. Just did a tremendous job, and you've really been a great help to me too as we transition into this, this new year and me taking over this role. I wanted to acknowledge you in front of everyone because you've been a great help. Some of you wouldn't know how many times I email and call Lyndall. He's probably gets sick of my name popping up on his inbox, but he's been a very good help. I ask a lot of questions, and you've always answered them. So thank you. And it's good to meet you all face to face. So let's kind of move into the meat and potatoes of the meeting. If you guys all have the agenda, hopefully you do. I sent it out. If not, you can just kind of follow along. I talked to Lyndall about this a little bit too. Old business, it seems kind of odd to have old business because we haven't had a meeting in, over a month, and also it's a new group. A lot, for the most part, or some of you maybe have been on, but some of you have not. So I wanted to kind of revisit some of the things that we were talking about last year, throughout the year, and to see if any of these topics are still relevant. I know that the first one on the list really is very relevant, and that is the satisfaction surveys. So all of you have the satisfaction surveys, I would presume. Is there anyone in this committee that has not received that report or is unaware of it? I'll just kind of wait to hear anybody pipe up. Okay, so I'm going to assume that everybody does, at least have access to it and has kind of looked over it. Sharing of that report, I have found has been interesting because it's been different between each university. We are working with our administration right now on kind of going over that. Have you all met with your administration, and what has been the reaction to that?
We've met at Wichita State with our president of the university, and we've also just given a few of the comments that were provided. We've also met with one of the VPs of a division that had a few concerning comments so that they could go ahead and tackle that. And then we have engaged one of our university researchers to pull all of the comments into some larger themes for our Senate so that we can present the themes rather than the comments to the greater population.
Sure. Was the report well received by your administration there? Did they find use in it? Did they think it was kind of confirming things they already knew? What were the general reactions?
Yeah, I think, President Tompkins is new to Wichita State, but, not new to this presidential gig and not new to Kegler. But he said there was nothing surprising to him in there, but he took the lead in helping us engage a researcher for the themes, thinking that was the best course of action. Overall, the VP that I met with yesterday was really excited in general, even though there's, a few things we want to work on, but just overall, we feel like a lot of the comments show that people love working for Wichita State as a whole. So this was good information. It is coming right before Wichita State does its, every 3 years we do a climate survey. Mm-hmm. And so this fall, the university is doing its own climate survey anyway that will include faculty, staff, and students. So they'll also get some other data points, and they're kind of interested to compare those.
Yeah, that is interesting timing. Kind of will maybe have some overlap. I'm assuming probably a little bit too, but maybe some new information. So good stuff. Who else? Pitt State, yeah.
An outside consultant. The climate survey.
Yeah, sorry, you kind of cut out there. So were you asking about the climate survey?
Yes. Does Wichita do that in-house, or do they engage a third-party consultant?
That's a good question, and it's the second time the question's come up, and I haven't got an answer yet. If I remember correctly, it's in-house. I know they typically use our Qualtrics system, so I think it's in-house, but let me get back with you guys on that.
Thanks.
And Pitt State, have you talked to your administration, had conversations, and those how those went?
Brad, are you there and can comment?
Here, but I haven't had any discussions with either Dr. Scott or anyone else in any kind of detail on that. No.
Mm-hmm. But have you guys shared the document with them?
Joel, this is Lyndall again. At PSU, Michael Woodrum, the president of USS, has been in communication with Dr. Scott, and I believe that his successor is also going to be continuing that discussion. They led the charge for the survey, so they've been handling the discussion of it here on campus. And I think Brad and Jason may have access to the survey, or if they want it, they may have access, but our professional senate has not distributed the results or really talked about the survey, other than the fact that it's been completed and that there will be a presentation to KBOR.
And you're already kind of seeing some of the unique discussions involving the survey and how different schools have handled approaching who's taking care of it with administration and distributing it. I know here at ESU, we have not distributed the survey as well because we were kind of waiting on that KBOR report on the 18th. I believe it's the 18th, yeah, when they present to the docking report to KBOR, I should say. So we are kind of waiting personally until September 18th to release that across campus. Has anyone else released their findings to the campus at large community? And I'm not saying that's the wrong way to handle it, but I was just curious if there's been any kind of release, or what about discussions in your council meetings within your own schools councils? Have you guys discussed the surveys at all there? Or is it something that mainly just the leadership of the councils are doing?
At Wichita State, we're just doing the leadership of our senates have discussed it and seen it. We've not distributed to any of our senators outside of the leadership team, and we don't intend to upload to our website any portion of the survey until right before it's presented at KBOR. I think the USS Senates, it sounds like in their call last week with their council, have decided to post to the website, I think the 21-page general survey results with no comments. Is that what you guys have heard?
Yeah, I don't. Are you asking like if we've heard? Are you asking about the survey or the? What? Yeah, just for clarification.
Have you talked with your USS folks to determine when they're releasing it?
At ESU, and I'm just kind of jumping in. At ESU, we are working hand in hand with our USS people on releasing that, and we both have determined that we aren't releasing that until after the KBOR meeting, just kind of as I mentioned earlier myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, which one are you going to release? Just the 21-page general?
Well, we have worked with, we've got a shorter report with ESU results only that compares to KBOR that we've worked with docking on. And
okay.
8 pages though.
Yeah, go ahead, Rosalie. What did you say? Go ahead.
That shorter report for ESU that compares it to KBOR at large is still about 38 pages.
Right.
And we do have some concerns with like some of the comments where people didn't technically identify themselves, but maybe identified which department that they're in and gave some identification that could sort of out them, I guess. So that's another concern for us.
Yeah,
I think
it's a long
the
report
council
still.
recommended that. I think the council recommended that the Docking Institute and USS Group consider not releasing those individualized comments.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I know that our school is following suit with that recommendation.
Right.
And I hope that each of you on this council kind of refers to your previous leadership as well. If you're not working closely with them on those recommendations from last year, I believe that every school here has people that were on last year's council with maybe Fort Hays State doesn't have anyone that was on last year. I'm not sure, but work with those people in terms of releasing your people that were on the council last year, because there were some recommendations which included not listing all those individual comments. I think that that's probably an important thing to do is leave off the individual comments whenever you do release this, because aside from it just bogging down the report and making it pages and pages longer, there's also some sensitive information in there that's kind of unnecessary also. So it doesn't really help anything. So I would strongly suggest whatever report you do choose to release to go ahead and remove any of the individual comments. And again, I can't make you do that, obviously, but that's my strong suggestion.
But I think Docking could do that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Lyndall. So I would yeah, like Lyndall even said too, go ahead and try to avoid doing that, releasing any of that personal info. In terms of what you release, if you want to release the whole report, feel free. It's very, very long. If you release that kind of initial one that was 293 pages, I think what we're going to release, this is not confirmed yet, but I think we're going to release our ESU compared side to side with the KBOR results. We have that report. And I think that might be more relevant for your schools individually to do, is to release a report that maybe has your school compared to KBOR. Again, that's your decision, but I think that might be easier for folks to read and be more relevant for each of your schools.
Yeah, we met with the president and the provost and several VPs to go over the results so that, they were aware. Communication came down to the issue that our administration felt like was the big key, is that information is not reaching the people who need to have it. So despite other recommendations from us and other issues that we wanted to kind of put on the forefront, that's where they decided to focus. So we have a follow-up meeting scheduled for September with the VP for communication and some other folks to look at how do we maybe address communication across campus and make sure that everybody has the relevant information. We haven't released the report with our faculty senate leadership or with the rest of our committee at this point, but everybody knows of the existence, and we're going to work with communication and see how they want to release it to the rest of campus. So when we have that meeting with communications later on in September, we'll talk to them about how we release the report. But again, we were kind of like, let's not do anything particularly until it goes to KBOR. And then we can kind of make more things public.
Yeah. Has anybody done it differently than that, or has anyone actually released it to their entire commission yet? It doesn't seem like anyone has, which I think follows suit with, like with the recommendation too, is to kind of wait on them to present to KBOR, and then I think that it would probably be wise for your individual councils to start discussing it. I know at our council here at ESU, they're starting to get very intrigued and curious about when we're going to release it, and they keep asking, so are we going to talk about it this meeting, and are you going to release the findings? And I just kind of had to tell them we're going to release that soon. We're still working through that, and after the KBOR presentation, we're going to do it. So I know that people are starting to get curious, and I don't want to say impatient, but I do think that the longer it drags out too, there begins to be more questions and questions of transparency sometimes, I believe. And so we want to avoid those and be upfront, I think, when you're talking with your individual folks.
I'm also surprised and sort of disappointed that the Docking Institute didn't assist with the strategy for presenting the report on the campuses.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll back you up on that. It was just kind of like, here's your report, have fun with it, and figure it out. And there wasn't much of a conversation about that. I will say that I communicated with Mike Walker yesterday because he's presenting to KBOR and I'm presenting to KBOR, as is our USS counterpart. And I wanted to touch base with him on what are you going to present, some of the info, so that we can, when we report to KBOR, have some sort of strategy too on following up with that. So it's somewhat of a consistent theme or message or communication to KBOR on how that's going to go. So we wanted to get on the same page with Docking, so at least we will know kind of what he's going to present ahead of time, so it's not some surprise if he goes up and presents something that we weren't aware of or were surprised by. So, that's about the first part of communication that really we've had on any kind of release of information. So I'm going to meet with him tomorrow. By the way, I did have this as a note on the agenda in terms of future communications with Docking, because Lyndall brings up that communication has been somewhat inconsistent, I guess, with Docking in terms of hearing from them. If you do want to communicate or have requests of Docking, we had a request, for instance, for a combined shorter report for ESU that we put in a request for. We do recommend that you still utilize PSU, Pitt State's USS leadership, to contact Mike Walker and Docking when you're asking for different things. And I think the contact is still Michael Woodrum and Terry Pierce. Yes. Is that correct, Lyndall?
Yes.
So if you're going to contact Docking, it's wise to just CC them at least, or contact Michael Woodrum or Terry Pierce at Pitt State. Lyndall, I might need to get their emails sent to the group too. I think I have Michael Woodrum's, but not maybe Terry. I don't know. I might have Terry Pierce's, but
he's been CC'd on some of our emails, but I can send that.
Perfect. That's great. So I can try to get you guys the emails for them. So if you communicate with Docking, because Pitt State is still kind of contractually the client on there, because their USS group is the one who initiated the study. So it's wise to naturally go through them still. Not to say you can't make requests to Docking or anything like that. It's just good to keep them in the loop as the client of the project.
Joel, did you guys have to pay at ESU for that additional portion?
No, I didn't.
So why hasn't, that's what, when we were on the council last year, I was under the impression that each individual school was going to get their own report. And I feel like that didn't happen. Is there a reason that Docking hasn't provided that to each and every school?
We were also under that impression, and that's why we asked for it, was we were under the impression that that was what we were getting and what we were paying for from the beginning. So we sort of just bothered him for a couple of weeks until we finally got that. And I think it's mostly a communication issue, because they should already have access to that information and just need to compile it a bit differently to compare it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Go ahead, sorry.
This is Jennifer at Fort Hays. I just wanted to mention that I have heard that they are changing leadership at the Docking Institute. So I'm wondering if maybe that is some of the communication problems. Brett Zollinger is supposed to be currently the interim director of the Docking Institute. He's also department chair of the sociology department. But from what I gathered, that was effective, I believe, August 1st. So that may be part of the disconnect.
Yeah, and it is it's a good conversation too, because I think there were some questions in terms of what we were supposed to receive, and in terms of those reports that people are kind of mentioning. And I don't know what to term it, if it's a miscommunication or misunderstanding or what, but I do know that a lot of schools had the expectation of a shorter, specific to them report. Schools across the board, Wichita State, you kind of mentioned maybe you don't feel like you have that. Other schools' comments in terms, do you feel like you have what you need?
No, I don't think we got it at K-State.
We kind of copied and cut and pasted to create a report that just showed K-State comments and things, but seeing something to compare K-State to, and that if you're talking to them tomorrow, Joel, is that something that you could mention? Is that, you guys got that, but that everybody else thought they were also going to get something?
Yeah, I can bring that up. Absolutely. I want to, like I said, I want to work on behalf of the entire council. We put that request in, not knowing if everybody was satisfied with what they received or not. So we just said, I know we had meetings with our administration, our president, and she was not happy with the report and thought this is too much and it's too irrelevant, and I just want my succinct ESU information. And so she kind of pressed us a little bit, which then president asked for that. I in turn, put in that request. So if you want me to ask Docking tomorrow about the possibilities of that, I will tell you that it took them a little longer than even anticipated to do ours. He said his comment was that it took them a lot longer to pull that data, because basically they had to extract your individual results, but then also do the comparison of all the other KBOR total comments, including ESU or whatever school you're from. But then also he did another section of data that was like KBOR minus ESU. Does that make sense? It's because one set of it had ESU included in the KBOR data and one of them had us pulled out of it. So there was kind of three really sets of data: ESU only, KBOR wide including ESU, and then KBOR wide minus ESU in those reports. And it took them a little bit of time. And, and I don't want to throw Docking under the bus. I know it was a large project and a lot of moving parts. So I know it was a lot to it, but at the same time, we want to get what was kind of asked and expected too, I think. So I will put in that request to see if there's any possibility of doing what they did for ESU. I don't know, and I don't know, perhaps Lyndall or Brad or Jason or anyone at PSU can comment. Contractually, do you feel like that's appropriate, inappropriate, okay, not okay? What do you think?
I've not seen the contract.
Yeah.
I can't comment on what specific documents should or should not have been received.
Okay.
The two different reports, I understand there was to be an aggregate report for all the campuses that KBOR would utilize, and then that each campus was to get something that was just containing their data, possibly in comparison to the aggregate data.
Okay. And I think what we got was the aggregate and then an individual, right? Am I not mistaken there? I mean, I know we had like an ESU only, and then we had a KBOR wide one, like two separate ones.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that accurate what everybody else kind of got, or not?
No, we got one survey.
Just the one that was everything?
Yes, we received everything. The other thing that we got was kind of excluding, where it was just the aggregate information, but excluded all those individual campus things. Never was something that just had Wichita State data on it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I've seen so many versions of that report, and we've kind of sliced and diced a little bit. I forget what was originally even sent. So thanks for the clarification. I think, and you're right on that. I'll talk to Mike tomorrow and just have that conversation on the phone So in respect of time, I want to kind of keep moving forward in the meeting because we've spent a lot of time on the survey, but I know that that's going to be a major topic as we move forward this year. And, one of the things that I think we want to be considering is items on there that we can address as a council, items on there that you see at your campuses that we can actually impact. Some of them, pay raises, those are obviously not we can just necessarily fix, as a group. Those are kind of dependent on other factors. So identifying other things, whether it's incentives or other things that maybe would entice people to be happier at work and improve morale, maybe we can consider those as we move forward as a group. I will also add, kind of moving away from the satisfaction surveys. Anybody else have anything to add on that before I move on? Okay. I have set up a SharePoint drive that I'm in the process of getting everybody added to right now because you're all at different universities. There was some issues with IT getting those added in, so you are all individually being added. Actually was working on it this morning with IT. So there will be a SharePoint drive folder for us to put documents in here, in to share as a council, and you'll have access to that. I will be sharing out that link as soon as I get that all taken care of, so be looking for that. One of the things I've discussed with WSU even more specifically would be nice if there was some consistency and carryover from documents from one year to the next. Because that way we can kind of reference things that we've been working on. So as for instance, as Lindell's transferred to me, I'm trying to kind of include some of those documents. And Lindell, do you care if I throw those on our SharePoint as kind of a 18-19 folder? Is that something that you're okay with?
No, please do. I'd be happy to have those documents be saved where they're useful.
Yep, and that's same with me. I'm going to try to pass those on to Julie and Trish and Camille at WSU and so on and so forth. I'd like that chain to continue, and then we kind of have an archive of different years that we can keep within that SharePoint. We chose SharePoint just because people tend to consistently use that. It's more secure than a lot of the other places. It's not perfectly secure, but it's about as secure as we found my IT team could identify. So, again, you have to switch users each year, which is a challenge, but if you can share those documents and basically download them each year and continue it, then we will have some continuity as we carry over. That's one of my big goals with this year, is to increase continuity from one year's transition of leadership to the next. And so I want to give WSU every, amount of information that they can have to be successful, as I have kind of leaned on Lindell. So that will be coming soon. I have on there old business on job classification compensation, the CBIZ studies. I don't know if there's anything to add on that. Does anybody feel like that's something that needs discussed today? We don't have to discuss it by any means. It's just something that was a topic that was last year. Anything there? And if not, just say we're good. Some other topics from last year, a lot of strategic plans. Pitt State, WSU, we at ESU are also working on new strategic plans. Anyone else working on a new strategic plan at their university? I believe ours will be released here kind of completely sometime, in the next coming months or so.
I think KU is supposed to be, but it's kind of rumored right now, but there's been no official announcement that the chancellor is moving toward a new strategic plan. But it's almost kind of ghostly right now that everyone believes it's supposed to be happening or will happen at some point, but there's been no word.
Okay. And ours at ESU is kind of more of an update. It's not a rewrite. It's kind of just switching some things around and readdressing a few topics.
That's exactly where we're at with Wichita State as well, is that it's some updates to the strategic plan that was put in place about 6 or 7 years ago, with some slight changes on some of the goals, and it'll be released in late September.
Okay, Pitt State, anything new to add on that?
I understand that the report is being bumped to December.
Right. So it seems like that's kind of, 3 of our schools are working on strategic plans. So it's kind of a common theme. I think most of them seem to be kind of in those final stages of finishing up though. So, and except for KU, of course. Enrollment concerns or comments? How's enrollment looking at your different schools? I know at ESU ours is actually positive, especially with our graduate students and our freshman enrollment, which is a good thing for us. What about, does anybody know? And if you don't know, that's fine, but.
We won't get anything until 20th day.
Sure. I'm going off of projections, of course, because we know that everything's the 20th day magic number. I guess any trends, anything anybody wants to share? And if not, that's fine too.
At Fort Hays, we're probably going to be down for the first time in 15 years.
Yeah.
I think we were looking at being down in domestic students, but up in out of state. So so Kansas students down, but possibly up in out of state students.
Yeah.
We're down on international students.
I think everybody's down. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I think most are down.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Hays State kind of has a unique situation with their schools in China. I know that, I don't know how that impacts your international numbers in terms of your enrollment, if they count, but your on-campus international numbers, I think, are down pretty much everywhere.
Kansas overall is like 4th or 5th worst right now for retaining international students or inviting new international students also.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough time for international enrollment.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can have some decent enrollment numbers. I know that impacts everything. It all kind of flows from that. And our conversations Rosalie and I have had with administration, they are cautiously optimistic that we kind of were in a hole for a few years and now we're starting to dig out of it, but it's going to still take a couple of years because we are graduating bigger classes on the back end, but our kind of we kind of have a 2-year lull there. So we're losing in total enrollment, but if that makes sense, but the enrollment numbers with our incoming students are good, better than they have been. So hopefully those look okay for everyone. I know that impacts a lot of budgets. All right, statewide pay raises. This has become quite the topic at ESU. I don't know if it is anywhere else. I believe some schools just kind of made it cut and dried and just said, whether it's 2.5, I believe, at K-State, straight across the board, 1.5, is that correct, at Pitt State?
Actually, they made the announcement earlier this month that they are doing a 2.5% increase across the board with some minor variables depending on whether people have started in a new position within a certain amount of time that came with a pay raise.
What is everyone else doing? And that's good news to hear for you, Lyndall, there. I mean, from an employee morale standpoint, I think, was Wichita State 1.5 across the board?
I can't remember our percentage. It was less than what the state gave us, but what they did was it was their year to try to bring some of the faculty positions that were not at value, just bringing the very lowest of the lowest faculty to the correct position or close to the correct position that they needed to be. Otherwise, maybe the 1.5 or 2% that we got among staff was anyone that at least had a meets expectations on their last performance.
Okay.
So no merit, no true merit based.
Okay.
Our merit base is at 2.5, but that can be spread. How to explain it? A department has to meet the 2.5% targeted total, but if there's 5 of us, they could give that total to one person, and the other 4 simply don't get anything. We also have agreements, and I'm assuming that you all have also with GTAs, that memorandum agreement. They get 2/3 of that across the board, along with like USS positions and union folks. So the 2.5 is being spread out, but the decision on who truly gets it, and I think WSU, I think, just said, or maybe K-State said, that it's the merit is first you have to be eligible, and one of those eligibility requirements for us was you had to be here as of March 1st, 2019. It was the merit amount target was built on a department's field base as of August 19th, 2019. And then the departments will basically send out those targeted amounts by department or school and have deans, directors, chairs make the decision on who gets what. So I could get, if there's 2 of us in the department, I could get all 2.5%, and you could get 0 or vice versa.
Gotcha. That seems to be kind of maybe the biggest outlier with the group.
Yeah.
Not to pick on you, Robert, but go ahead, Rosalie. Do you have?
I was going to say, you also brought up an interesting point. I don't know that we've actually discussed how it's going to affect GTAs or adjuncts, because we have a huge adjunct population or work base here, and I don't know how that's going to affect them, because the way our policy reads was everybody is eligible for 2/3 of the 2.5%,
Right.
as long as they have been here for a year, but it sort of makes it seem like as long as they've been here for a year in like a full-time position. So I'm not sure on that 100%. And then the other 1/3 of the 2.5%, so like 0.83%, is based on merit. And so we've had a lot of discussions about what exactly merit means for the unclassified and the support staff, because we don't have any uniform method of measuring that across campus. So
yeah. See, for KU, the only ones that are truly guaranteed are the GTAs, the USS positions, and the unions. Those are the ones that it is a memorandum of understanding that you will get that 2/3. Everyone else, and they separated the 2.5 from faculty and staff. So faculty have their own 2.5%, staff have their own. So we're not mixing dollars across to where you have a faculty member getting a huge chunk of money and staff not getting their cut. But that decision is going to be made based off of people sitting in a room deciding who's good, who's not.
Yeah, that's going to be, I hope that doesn't cause some morale issues.
It will. It will. Quick. I mean, you'd mentioned the 2/3 to the 0.833. Remember when we did the state finance council dollars? When those dollars came down, I think that was last year, we had some morale issues because you had someone who maybe have been here 10 years, someone who'd been here a year, where that person who'd been here a year got the merit and then somehow bumped themselves above the person who was here 10 years because they didn't qualify for the money. The provost, I guess, spoke to deans and chairs to try to do some kind of equity balancing, but that wasn't equal across the campus. So once this starts, there's going to be some consternation. There's already complaining now that the 2.5% simply is not enough.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I don't think ours has been 100% finalized. Our recommendation, because of morale issues and because of some inequity across the way people were being evaluated or not evaluated and just given the merit raise, was to go ahead and, as long as they meet the base 2/3 recommendations, then they would receive the merit pay as long as they haven't had any demerits or like any action taken against them.
Mm-hmm. That's basically, and Rosalie, I had a meeting yesterday too, following up with administration. Administration has invited, I'm very gracious, our administration has invited our USS and UCC representation to to talk about it with them, and how they really looked at us and said, these are kind of what we think, how you should determine this. And we kind of determined that because we don't have a consistent evaluation process across our unclassified employees, which we call UCC here, you'll see me say that throughout the year. We basically determined if you met the first piece, you're going to get the second one, because we don't necessarily have a way to determine the above and beyond folks unless we were just going to turn around and go to each supervisor and say, kind of like KU, who gets this, who doesn't, basically a check yes or no box. And we didn't necessarily know that was a fair process, because employees weren't really going off, what kind of evaluation are you going off of there? Basically, your supervisor making a determination on the spot instead of going off of a year's evaluation that you were supposed to be working towards. We found a lot of disagreement on those things, those topics, and a lot of conversation about, are you just handing out participation ribbons, and you really want to reward those folks that go above and beyond? And we agree with that, but we are going to be looking at and establishing a task force to have a more consistent evaluation process across for merit in our unclassified employees. And so Rosalie and I are going to be on a task force. I'm sure both of us will be. I don't know. We'll see. Get ready for that, to help determine some of those evaluation processes as a result. Our university support staff, that system's all set up and fine and dandy, and the faculty is even more clear than ours. And ours, unclassified, is not very consistent in evaluation. Fort Hays State, I haven't heard from you. Pay raise stuff. What's the climate like there, and what was the decision?
I honestly have no idea. I was gone a lot this summer. I mean, with coming back from maternity leave, and Lisa's not on the call, so she would be the one that would have all of the most relevant information. So I unfortunately don't have anything to report for that.
Yeah, no worries. Perfectly fine. So, the pay raise thing and the evaluations might end up being something we discuss on the conference calls moving forward too. I might be seeking recommendations on you guys with how your evaluations are done, if they're inconsistent across departments like ours is in unclassified. That'll be something that we're going to be looking at ESU. We have about a couple minutes left before 10 o'clock. Does anyone need to get out of here right at 10? If you need to get out of here right at 10, just...
I have a student coming in, so I'm actually going to bow out now and grab a coffee before they get here. So we are very interested in your performance evaluation stuff, though, Joel, and we might borrow and steal some of it if you don't mind that. So
That's right.
Great to see everybody, and I will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. We'll see you, Kelly.
Bye.
KU, I'll be bailing out. I'll be bailing out at 10. We're in the middle of doing our ABR.
Great. Thank you.
Brad, I've got a jet also at 10.
Okay. They're dropping like flies. And I know that, Julie, you need to get out of here in about 10 minutes. So be respectful of the time. I want to move. We've kind of touched on a lot of the things even in new business. But basically, this is the portion where I want to talk about my presentation to KBOR. We only have 5-ish. They say they give you 10 minutes, but they don't want you to go 10 minutes. And I don't want to speak for 10 minutes if I don't have to, if you want me to be honest. But I am absolutely happy to share things on behalf of the council. We will probably be touching a little bit on satisfaction survey pending my conversation with Mike Walker today, just in terms of discussing, we have the results, and I'm not going to get in the weeds on it because that's what his presentation is going to be about, but maybe some general talking points. The pay raise thing, I don't know what are topics that you guys are interested in me presenting. Any other issues on campuses that we need to be talking to KBOR about, or praises for KBOR's good work in something?
I think this is Julie at Wichita State. Last year we had really advocated about the healthcare, and of course KBOR doesn't control that. It's the state employees system, but we're getting a little bit of a reprieve this year, so I think that's one positive that we could share.
Yeah.
At some of the advocating that KBOR was doing on our behalf. helped. And so that's one positive we could share about health insurance.
Now, did they give us, did KBOR come in and basically help to lower the premiums? And I mean, I need filled in on that a little bit, because I've heard about that, but I don't know the details.
KBOR itself didn't do anything necessarily, but I think keeping it as a relevant topic, saying we're getting there. We got a little closer this year to the state employee system, but KBOR had engaged, and Lyndall might have a little bit more information, but KBOR had engaged in the conversations, I guess, last year a little bit.
We'd ask for their advocacy to advocate for better negotiation of healthcare coverage. And in the report that we gave in September and in January, those were topics. So it would be nice to express our appreciation for their advocacy there. And then the other thing that we'd asked, we'd hoped for a modern competitive parental leave policy, which is now in place. So that's another opportunity to express appreciation.
Yeah, those are two really big topics that I do want to thank them for. I just need to probably do a little bit of research also in terms of some of the healthcare. I know that in our meetings with administration, that's still something that, you know, people are dissatisfied for at ESU, about at ESU is healthcare. So that's something in our kind of reports that is still an area that needs addressed further. So I'm going to thank them and ask also for their continued advocacy.
Yeah.
There's a committee, a state employee, I don't even know. I can't even remember the name of the full committee. I'm actually on the committee, and it meets a couple times a year and reviews. And it's not just universities, but it's also all state employees represented. And we review the health plans. The representative from the state health insurance commission comes in and gives us a report on what happened last year, some proposals for the next year, and then we actually vote on recommendations that go to the health insurance commission. So I know that was a big topic with our committee on the health insurance for the dependents and spouses. And so we looked at that, and then we made that recommendation to the Health Insurance Commission. So I don't know if there are a number of other agencies that also make recommendations to the Health Insurance Commission, but I know that that is one of them. And K-State is not the only university represented. There's a couple others. We haven't met since the spring, so I don't actually recall which universities are represented, but just wanted to let you know.
Thanks. And I might be reaching out to you too, in terms of just questions, and because I know that our president is very keen on addressing the healthcare stuff, and she talks about the lack of negotiating power and so on and so forth. I think we kind of lean on committees like yourself and also KBOR to kind of do that advocacy. Help out. I know that she's made the comment multiple times in meetings with myself that she doesn't feel like we're getting necessarily as good of a deal as we can get. And so, yeah,
I mean, it was brought up the whole, I'm also on a student health insurance committee. So that was a different conversation about United Healthcare, and that's probably not going to go away.
Well, thank you for those. I think the two things to praise them for is those two topics. What are other topics you think would be wise to address?
We'd ask for full restoration of the base funding. They've made some progress, but continued efforts to get us back to where we were, I think the campuses would appreciate.
Yeah.
Because that allows the campuses to address a number of other topics, morale, retention, filling openings.
I think one of the things that we are concerned about here at ESU is it's almost like they kind of gave you an attaboy and you're curious and holding your breath. Now do they feel like, okay, we restored their funding to 2009 levels, which now we're good. You know, we don't need to address it for a while. I know that that's one of the fears we have, is that they feel like, okay, we took care of that. Now we can kind of forget about that for a little while. And then we kind of get back in that same cycle. So I know that restoring the funding is key. I think you can point that out too.
We're all still doing more with less.
Exactly. And that reminder of we're just back to 2009 levels. That's a decade ago. So, you know, a lot of inflation in between then and, you know, there. So any other?
Well, that's my biggest concern with the merit-based. If future salary increases are merit-based, that does nothing to address the cost of living and the fact that people are on campus doing the same jobs for essentially less than they used to make, especially when you throw in the parking increases, possible future healthcare increases.
Yeah.
Yeah, parking was also something that we were discussing, both as sort of an incentive or something that's currently, you know, something that people are not very happy with on campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parking issues seem to be prevalent in a lot of schools, I know. And anytime something new is built and you lose parking, like we did, we had a dorm built and we lost a lot of parking. And I got so many phone calls over any issue on the UCC commission in my couple of years on here. And I was bombarded this August with calls about parking.
And I have a meeting that's coming up. I'm going to have to cut out as well. Thanks for everyone's time.
Thanks. Thank you very much. And I think that we can kind of start to wrap up in general here, everyone. Is there anything else you want me to bring to KBOR's attention? I want to give you the opportunity to share these things if you have something that needs brought up. If there is none, I'll kind of, develop that speech, so to speak, and try to represent you well. We talked about the release strategies already for for the surveys. We've already kind of talked about that in terms of waiting until after KBOR, so we don't need to spend much time on that. And again, if you need to address docking, we've discussed that as well. Still continue to keep PSU in the loop through their support staff leadership, and I will send you out the emails to those folks. Doodle polls. I'm going to give a doodle poll here in the coming. I don't know if hopefully by next week maybe. I don't mean to put a deadline on that I can't keep, but I would like to get a doodle poll out so we can get a consistent meeting time for this year. When I send that out, it'll just be, I'll send out a bunch of different times options, and don't just select it for the next month's meeting. It'll be for the year, hopefully, if that makes sense, that we'll be selecting a time that'll be hopefully a firm time that we can continue to meet. If we find that doesn't work and we can't find a lot of people that are available at a consistent time throughout the year, we'll have to try to move it around a little bit. I don't want to do that because that creates a lot of headache and trying to schedule each month, but we'll try to make it work. Any other announcements or questions or concerns or comments?
Great job, Joel.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. And great job for you. I think you took minutes, right?
I've been taking notes, so I'll get those typed up in the next day or so and sent off.
No rush. Don't feel like you're rushed on that. Thank you guys so much. It's great, and welcome to the council. And we'll be seeing you again here soon, and I'll get you a doodle poll to announce another meeting date. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and travel safe if you're going anywhere.
Okay.
Thanks,
Joel.
We'll see y'all.